Okay, can you see this screen, PowerPoint? Hello? Can you see this presentation?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So very good morning, and I hope the recording is going on. Okay, great. So welcome to the last lecture, the final conclusion of this course. We are going to see about some generalized equations of motion, of which Euler's equation are a set of equations which form a special case. And these equations we will see can be used to describe motions of very complicated 3D systems. And one such very interesting applications, as you saw in the video, is gyroscope. So that is the outline of this lecture. A quick review of what we did in the last class. So what we did is in last few lectures we have been talking about one thing is inertia matrix. So for a 3D object, you have two things. One is moment of inertia, another is product of inertia. So moment of inertia are Ixx, Iyy, Izz, and then you have Ixy, Ixz. These are the product of inertia. Then in the last class we saw that the angular momentum and angular velocity of the body, these are two vectors. They are, or they can be in different direction, and they are connected by a transformation given by this inertia matrix. And this was that relation. We said H is equal to I matrix times omega vector. Now there is a special direction corresponding to each or any complicated 3D object. There is a specific set of direction which is called as principal axis, along which the Ixy, Ixz, Iyz, these product of inertia terms becomes 0. And then your inertia matrix is only a diagonal matrix, and these terms are 0. These are called as principal moment of inertia, and this new direction x prime, y prime, z prime is called as your principal axis of rotation. And for such special case, when your principal axis, we are looking, writing things with respect to the principal axis, your angular momentum is given by a much more simplified equation like this, right? Otherwise, you have a very complicated, a more complicated equation, something like this. Okay, and yeah, that's what we saw in the last class. And then if we want to write angular momentum about any other point, then we can write it as r cross the linear momentum of the center of mass plus the angular momentum of the whole body about that center of mass g. And then and we also saw that we get very similar equations if we choose the point either G or a fixed point O. So if we have a fixed point O, then also the equations of motion, not just equation of motion, right now we have discussed the angular momentum expressions. Angular momentum expressions remains the same. So if we are talking about a fixed point O, then also the equations remains the same. Okay, and now let's get started with a simple example, and then we will go to the equations of motion. So now here is an example which is something similar to a top or a gyroscope that you have seen. So the objective of this lecture is to get into this topic, and so let us start with some simple kinematic problems. So here is a problem that this disk, it spins about this axis with an angular velocity of omega 1, and it rolls on the surface. So there is pure rolling that takes place. So as you can expect from basic physics, basic sense, you can visualize that this point is going to move in this direction, and therefore this whole system has to rotate about this axis in this direction, right? So if this rotates like this, then for this to have a pure rolling motion, this will rotate about this axis with an angular velocity of omega 2. The question is, calculate the angular velocity of the disk and angular momentum. So which is what we have seen so far. How do we calculate the angular momentum for this somewhat complicated system? So the angular velocity is quite straightforward. So we know that this velocity of this point C, if I go to this slide here, this radius is r. So if this is spinning at a velocity of omega 1, then this point has got a velocity in this direction of magnitude omega 1 times r, and this should be equal to omega 2 times L, right? The center of mass, this whole disk is rotating about this vertical axis with an angular velocity omega 2. So omega 2 times L should be, this is L, should be equal to omega 1 times r, and from there you get omega 2, right? And once you get your omega 2, the angular velocity of the whole disk is omega 1 times I cap. Now if I define x in this direction, x, y, z, so it is omega 1 I cap plus omega 2 into j cap, and now what we had is it will go downward. So this is the omega 2 which we objectively we saw, and the angular velocity is of the disk is the combination of both angular velocities omega 1 and omega 2, which we have seen in the previous lectures. Okay, the next part of the question is calculating the angular momentum of this disk, of this object, right? So now there are different ways from where we can compute the angular momentum. So the first thing is, let us compute angular momentum about the point O. That is one way that we will try to do. And the second step, we will try to calculate angular momentum about point G. So to calculate angular momentum about point O, we will write this, wait a minute, where is it? Yeah. So this is the expression for angular momentum about point O, because it is a fixed point. So if it is a fixed point, this is what we have, think, yes, sorry, yeah, about the fixed point, rotation about the fixed point, we have the same set of equations. And now in this case, Ixy, Ixz, these cross terms are 0 because it is symmetric disk. So if we have a symmetric axis, then the cross products are 0, and those corresponds to the principal axis. So we can write the angular momentum as Ix omega x. So this is the first term. So I about x axis is mr square by 2, that is straightforward, into omega 1. Now then I hy, the y component of angular momentum is Iy times omega y. So I about this axis y is, so first of all, of this disk, we know I about this axis is mr square by 2, and from this parallel and perpendicular axis theorem, we know that I about this axis and I about this axis is going to be the same. These are all symmetric axes, and this is going to be mr square by 4 because this plus this is equal to this polar one. So this is mr square by 4. And then we have to use parallel axis theorem to shift our this axis from here to here. So therefore it is L square, ml square, times the omega y, which is this term, and then hz, there is no omega in z direction, so this is 0. So therefore the angular momentum about the fixed point O can be given by this expression. And similarly, if I want to express, it is more convenient, and we will see in a few slides later that it is more convenient to express things about the center of mass. So now if I express this rigid body as the linear momentum of the center of mass mv and the angular momentum about the center of mass g. So now we can write the same expression. So this expression will remain the same, but now this will be about point G. So now you can see these are about new axis x prime, y prime, z prime, which are attached to the center of mass of this disk. So you can see this is the disk, its center of mass is G, and we have the new axis x prime, y prime, z prime, about which I know the I, right? We know the I and we know the omega. So now this whole body can be expressed as linear momentum, which is m omega 1 r, and this is in the z direction, k cap. And then the angular momentum has got two components. One is along the I cap. So there is an omega 1, which is, so there are, this term omega 1 is called as spin angular velocity. So this is it is rotating like this, and this contributes an angular momentum in this direction. Then there is another angular velocity, which is this angular velocity omega 2, and this is called as precession. Preces. I think I have to check the spelling, but yeah, but it is called as it presses along omega 2. So this omega 2 contributes to the angular momentum in the minus y direction, right? So this is your angular momentum. Okay. Now the next thing comes. So far we know how do we write the linear momentum of center of mass and angular momentum about the center of mass, or we can also write it about a fixed point. Now next we want to go to the equation of motion. Equation of motion is, one is that force is equal to mass into acceleration of center of mass. That is one equation. The next equation is the rate of change of angular momentum is equal to the net moment acting on the system, right? So again, I'm not so this equation will take a more full-fledged form here, and to do that we have to calculate the rate of change of angular momentum. So far we know how to write h, but now we have to calculate its rate of change of angular momentum. Now to find the rate of change of angular momentum, we would prefer an axis which is like x prime, y prime, z prime, which is attached to the center of mass and which may be rotating with some angular velocity, because see, h is related to omega by the inertia matrix I, and this does not depend whether your inertia matrix, your axis is rotating and so on. In one sense, I mean, it doesn't depend on this axis, but we would prefer to use the axis where your inertia terms are not time independent. What does it mean? So let me explain it. Or maybe I can go to OneNote and explain it better. Just give me a minute. So I hope you can see this screen on OneNote. So now we have, let us say I have a spinning top, right? So this, there are couple of axes that we can choose. So one is this XYZ axis, which are fixed. But now with respect to this capital XYZ axis, this top is going to spin like this, and it is also going to have a precess about this axis, something like this, right? So you can visualize, and by the videos that we have seen initially, and of course if you have I'm sure in childhood we all play with these kinds of toys. So if we have got a top which is spinning about this omega 1 axis, and at the same time it is going to precess with this omega 2 axis. So if I write the angular momentum, or if I choose the axis as capital XYZ, then I of this system is going to vary with time, because at next instant this is going to be here, at next instant it is going to be somewhere here. So the mass distribution is going to change with respect to capital XYZ axis. So we are not going to write the equation, or we are not going to write the rate of change of angular momentum about this XYZ axis. We are going to write the angular momentum about the axis which is attached to the rotating frame. So one of the axes is going to be the same, and this rotating frame so this is, let's say, x, y, z, or you can put a prime, x prime, y prime, z prime. So now we will choose one of the axes coincident with this, which is also going to rotate. And now about this x prime, y prime, z prime axis, the inertia terms of this top will remain the same, right? The inertia terms are going to be the same, and we are going to further make a very special case where this x prime, y prime, z prime axis becomes the principal axis. So, and in this case it will be true, because it is going to be a symmetric top, and if we select this as principal axis, then even the cross terms are going to be 0. So that's the idea of selecting the different axes. So I'll back to the PowerPoint. So the idea is that we are going to express the rate of change of angular momentum about the axis attached to the center of mass, which may be and which will be rotating with another axis. So it's convenient to use the body fixed axis, gx small xyz, or gx prime, y prime, z prime, where I are constant. And now here is the key. So now we write the angular momentum, the rate of change of angular momentum about the fixed axis capital XYZ is equal to the rate of change of angular momentum about the axis which is rotating, which is attached to the center of mass, plus omega cross h. So this is derived from the same expression of q, a generalized quantity that we have defined before. The rate of change of any vector q with respect to fixed frame is equal to rate of change of q with respect to rotating frame plus omega of that rotating frame cross product with that q vector. So here q is replaced by h, and what we get is the following expression. Now this frame can have a different angular velocity, but generally it is good to choose the angular, but most of the time this angular velocity is same as the angular velocity of the body, because this frame is attached to the to the rotating body itself. So now if we if we expand these terms, if we take the rate of change of angular momentum, and h terms are given from the previous cases, right. So, previously we have seen how h is expressed in terms of omega, and now when we substitute this expression, what we get is the final set of equations called as Euler's equation of motion, and this is for a further specific case when this gxyz is attached to the body and it also corresponds to the principal axis of inertia. So, when it corresponds to the principal axis of inertia, your ixy, iyz, ixz, those terms also become 0, and what we are left with is there's the following set of equations, which is Euler's equation. And now here we can write the following set of equations. So, this is the final generalized set of equations. Force is equal to mass into acceleration, and the net moment is equal to rate of change of angular momentum about its center of mass as observed from the ground, and this has to be expressed in terms of this. So, these equations then simplify to, particularly the second equation simplifies to I don't know whether should I say simplifies or complicates to this equation, these sets of equation. It's called as Euler's equation. So, one thing that you can see so far, what you have seen, that you used to say that moment is equal to I alpha. So, now here instead of having your I alpha, you also have some extra terms, which is I multiplied by omega y times omega z. So, it is not just I alpha, but you have some extra terms here as well. And now what we can say, that if I have a body with some external forces, then I can say that this whole system is equivalent to this body with its center of mass accelerating with acceleration a, and therefore the net force is equal to ma, and the net moment here creates a rate of change of momentum, which is hg. So, now we can say that this system is equivalent to this system, and now we can write equations for both of these systems, right, force equations and moment equations. So, this is what we can do, and now let us try to apply this thing to the same example that we have seen, but now we have to calculate the. So, it is the same problem. This disk is spinning with omega 1, and it will precess about the vertical axis with an angular velocity of omega 2, and then we want to calculate the force from the ground, that is first part, and we want to calculate the reactions at this pivot point O, right. So, that is the case here. So, what we have already solved, let us see that. So, we have solved for omega 2, this we know. We have also calculated the angular momentum about a fixed point, but that will not going to be so helpful. So, now let me again go back to this screen and try to explain here. So, now this is the example that we are doing, that this disk is spinning about this axis with omega 1, and about this axis it is going to rotate with an angular velocity of omega 2. Now, if I draw the excuse me, if I draw the free body diagram, one is the weight of this disk that is going to act here, weight, then the normal reaction which we have to find out, and then there will be some reactions here, let's say Rx, Ry and Rz. So, now in the first part of the lecture we have solved for the kinematics of this, and now we are going to solve for the forces in this system. Now let us choose one axis is XYZ axis, which is we can say which is fixed to this point here, and if we want to write the angular momentum, so it's always convenient to use angular momentum about the center of mass. So let us write the angular momentum of center of mass, and which from our example we have already seen. It was this expression, right? So this we have already seen. Now here comes the key, that now we want to express the rate of change of angular momentum about center of mass as observed from the fixed frame, and this will be equal to the rate of change of angular momentum of this disk about a frame which is attached to this thing. So let me draw another diagram. So this is x prime, y prime and z prime. So this axis coordinates x prime, y prime, z prime is attached to the center of mass of the disk G, and this whole system is precessing about this capital Y axis with an angular velocity of omega 2, right? So we are going to write this rate of change of angular momentum of the system as observed from XYZ is equal to rate of change of angular momentum about x prime, y prime, z prime plus omega of this frame x prime, y prime, z prime cross product with hg, this vector itself, hg, right? So this is the expression for calculating the rate of change of angular momentum. Now from this x prime, y prime, z prime, this body has got a constant angular velocity, and therefore this rate of change of angular momentum is 0, right? And this is principal axis, everything is nice. So this rate of change of angular momentum about this x prime, y prime, z prime is 0, and this omega is your omega 2 vector which is more specifically minus omega 2 into j cap. So this is minus omega 2 into j cap. Omega 2 we know in terms of omega 1 is r omega 1 by L, and hg, so let me write it down. So it is minus omega 2 j cap cross product with hg. Hg was half mr square omega 1 times I cap minus r by 2L j cap. So we have seen that angular momentum you have in both direction, it's in I cap as well as in j cap. So here you will have this cross product term, and which will be your mr square by 2 times omega 1 times omega 2 times j cross I is your minus k, minus minus becomes plus 1. So this is in the k cap. So now we can see that the rate of change of angular momentum, and needless to say that it is with respect to the fixed frame, is equal to, so rate of change of angular momentum of the center of mass is equal to mr square by 2 times omega 1 times omega 2. So therefore this disk is having an angular, so if I draw this disk again, so now here the again I'm drawing the free body diagram. So here the weight is acting here, the normal reactions are acting here, and you have reactions here. Under the action of these forces, this body is having acceleration and rate of change of angular momentum. So if I see the acceleration, so there is only one acceleration which is towards the center of mass. So this is rotating with omega 2 about the y-axis. So it has as ma vector which is directed towards the center, and then it has a rate of change of angular momentum, and this is in the k cap direction. So this is the k cap direction and hg dot. So now we can say that these forces Rx, Ry, Rz. So these forces, all the external forces on this system are causing this system to have an acceleration, center of mass is having an acceleration ma, and this rate of change of angular momentum which is along this k cap direction. So now we can write the equation of motion, which is summation of moment is equal to net moment effective. So the net moment, and let's write it about the point O. So all the reactions go away. So we have this n minus w is in the j cap direction. So moment is r cross f. So r vector is l I cap. Right, so if this is length L, so this is L I cap cross product with the force is equal to the rate of change of angular momentum, which is hg dot here. And from this equation what we get is so from here you can get, so this I cross j is going to be k, and this is anyway in the k cap direction. So from here you can get your normal reaction, which will be w plus mr square by 2 times omega 1 times omega 2. And similarly your reaction that you are going to get is so your Rx is going to be minus of m into omega 2 square into L. So this will be minus I cap, and Ry is going to be minus of mr square by 2 into minus of, so if you simplify this expression, it will be mr by 2 into r by L whole square into omega 1 square j cap. Right, so this Ry can be obtained from the force balance here. So Ry will be equal to n minus w, right? So it is going to be this expression. Okay, so now another thing to note here is that for this body to spin and precess, it requires a moment about a third axis, right? So it is spinning about omega 1 in the omega 1 direction, which is in the x direction. It is having a precision about omega 2 direction, but then it requires its rate of change of momentum, rate of change of angular momentum is in the z direction, and therefore it requires a torque in the z direction to do this both things simultaneously, omega 1 and omega 2. And this is what is called as your gyroscopic effect, and this is the this is kind of the same thing that you have seen in the the video that Lokendra has shown you, that even if you have a disk, so in this example this was on the ground, but let us say it is not on the ground, and if you, let's say, spin this disk about omega, what's the direction? Okay. So if I spin about this direction, and if I leave this system, right? So let us say if I just tie it with a rope, and we spin this with an angular velocity, let's say omega 1, and leave this system. Now you can assume that this gravity is going to create a torque in the z direction, right? So this is L. So the gravity is going to create a torque or create a moment along the z direction, in fact in the negative z direction, and right, so you have r is your L vector, so this is your r cross f, so the moment is in this direction, and due to this moment this body is going to have a precision motion about the third axis. So what will happen is that this body will start to spin about this axis with an angular velocity of omega 2, and this is related by this expression, this. So the moment about the third axis, which is your mgl, is equal to your I of the system times omega spin times omega precision. So half I omega 1 cross omega 2. So that is your gyroscopic moment or gyroscopic torque. And now let's go back to the slide. Okay, so so I hope we have completed this problem. Now to come to gyroscope, more details of it, there is another special case which is motion about a fixed point or a fixed axis. So this is another special case where instead of writing center of mass, sometimes it is more convenient to write about a fixed point. For example, in the case of gyroscope, it is more convenient to write about point O, which is fixed, but we want to write it about the principal axis of the the top or a gyro. So again, the same set of equations, and we have again, I'm not going into these derivations, but the final expressions what you get are something like this. So again, we write the moment is equal to rate of change of angular momentum, and this is observed with respect to OXYZ plus omega cross H naught, and H, the generalized terms, when we substitute it here and simplify it, we get the following expressions. Now these equations, rotation about a fixed axis, these are useful in modeling problems such as something like this, right? So if you have a crankshaft which has a bit odd shape, it can have complicated shapes, but now if it is rotating about a fixed axis, these are the equations of motion which can be used to model these kinds of systems, right? And yeah, if your shaft is symmetric and if your product of inertia terms are 0, then the equations of motion becomes more simple. Now coming to this topic of gyroscope, So gyroscope, as you have seen, that it is used as a very helpful tool in navigation systems. It is used in stabilizing systems like segways, for segways or self-balancing devices. It is also used for self-balancing cars, bikes, robots. So it has a lot of applications. Previously, gyroscopes used to be something like this, for which we have seen the video, where we used to have a rotating disc, rotor, and those things. Nowadays, these modern gyroscopes are replaced by more MEMS devices with slightly different, some other technology. But even if you, I'm sure if you have worked with some gyroscopes in your electronics, you have gyroscopic sensors and so on. The idea is that they will give you the three angular rotation. So in 3D you have three angular position. In mechanics we call as roll, pitch and yaw angles. So you get those three angular positions and the rate of change of angular velocities, those three angular velocities. So okay, so if we see the diagram of a gyroscope, so as you have seen, gyroscope basically it has got a rotating disc. So it consists of a rotor with mass center fixed in space, but which can spin freely about its geometric axis. And this can assume any orientation by changing the different outer rings motion, right? So these outer rings are called as gimbals, and so for example, I can rotate the outer gimbal about AA configuration. So this is about AA, this green thing, hole can be rotated. Then we can rotate things about BB. This BB is missing here. Rotation of inner gimbal through Q about BB, and then we can rotate in the rotor CC or CC prime about about CC prime, and we can give it a small rotation Y. This thing, right? So in fact, these are actually this could be theta. So if you see the second diagram, so we can rotate thing by phi, theta and psi. So these phi, theta and psi are called as Euler's angle. So these are again terms which, if you do courses on robotics, you will get into more details of Euler's angle. So by these three angular changes, we can obtain any configuration of this rotor, and then the rate of change of angle of these Euler angles are called as so one is spin. So you can see that psi, this psi dot is basically your spin of the gyroscopic rotor. Then theta dot is called as nutation, and then this is called as precision. Yeah, so this is the correct spelling, precision. Phi dot is your precision. So so now we can express the angular velocity of the gyroscope. Again, I'll not go into more details, it's already 9 o'clock. But by the the theory and the concepts that we have seen, we can write the angular velocities and then equations of motion of this gyroscope. And now this we will write about a rotating axis, which is small xyz axis, and I'll again skip all these things, and you can get so the idea is that one thing is important, that if there is a spin and there is a precision, then there is a moment has to be in the third direction. So that is a very important concept of gyroscope, and this is given by half into spin times precision, right? Sorry, I multiplied by spin times precision angular velocities. And this is again for a special case of 90 degree, but you have more generalized expressions which I'm skipping right now. So I think that's all for this course. Thank you all for your kind attention. One thing that we have not covered in this course is one chapter which is it is there in your books, which we have not covered, is vibrations. So here is a small advertisement on a course that I'm floating in the winters. Is basically on vibrations, so theory and computation of vibrations. So if you want to learn about vibrations, and you're welcome to join this course. So I think there is some registration fee, but if you are interested, you can drop me an email, and then you can join this course for free, right? So I think that's all from my side. Stop this discussion.